want you this morning to imagine you're on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. You are standing there and your feet are feeling the waves as the waves trickle up on the beach. And you're looking out at the waves and watching the fishing boats and watching the men pull in the fish. You're probably feeling this little water spritzing off, the wind has been spritzing off the sea. And all of a sudden little kids come running by and they're laughing and playing in the water, and you notice that there are people on the beach. There are probably women getting the baskets ready for the fish that will be coming in soon. And they're talking about the next wedding or the new baby coming. And you see the older men working on the nets, trying to decide how to take care of all the problems in the world. And I wonder, as you're standing there, does anybody notice Jesus coming to the shores of Galilee? I can guarantee their attention changed to him when he calls out, "Come and follow me, and I will show you how to fish for men." I bet that got their attention, and they noticed how the men left their nets at once and followed him. Now, for all of us who grew up in Sunday school and in church, we have all heard this story. But do we honestly understand the meaning of Jesus calling the men to follow him? Do we really understand what it meant by these words, "Come and follow me"? David Platt, in his book, Follow Me, he writes this: Jesus beckoned to these men to leave their profession, possessions, their dreams, their ambition, family and friends, safety and security. He bid them to abandon everything. And he did the same when he called us and asked us to follow him. He called us, and following Jesus, there's a price to pay. And sometimes we don't remember that following Jesus means we need to sacrifice everything about us. Amen. Luke 9:23 says this: Then he said to the crowd, "If any of you want to be my followers, you must give up your own way and take up your cross daily and follow me." Since the fall, since the first sin in Genesis 3, we as humans are selfish. If you really want to know how selfish we are, look at the world we live in. We have been so selfish that we have destroyed by taking everything, and we think it's all ours to take. And we have destroyed the world. We have climate change because of that. Humans are the most selfish things since the fall God has created. And yet Jesus tells us to put aside our selfishness. We must die to him daily. But I don't know about you. Sometimes I need to do it outwardly. And then there's days where minutes I need to work on my putting myself away. And even seconds, because some days are really bad. I don't know about you. When we become Christians, everything that is part of our lives is not ours anymore. It is Christ. To become what he wants us to be. Romans 12:1 and 2 says this: And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give up your bodies to Christ, because all for all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he can find acceptable. This is true in the way to worship him. Do not copy the behaviors and the customs of the world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is perfect and pleasing and good. When Jesus asked us to follow him, he is telling us to give up everything about us. Why does Jesus tell us to sacrifice and give up everything? Because he needs to change us into the person he wants us to be. Sort of like a potter and the clay. If we are so into us, he's not going to be able to work in our lives. If we keep saying to him, I'm sorry, that doesn't fit into my dreams, Jesus, he is not going to be able to work, and we're not going to be the person he has called us and wants us to be as Christians. Sadly, there are Christians who have never once want to go through the sacrifice they need to. We've been in the ministry for 20 years, and I say in every church, there's a joke that we pastors say, you can move to a new church, yet the same people are going to be there. The only difference is they have different names. So I need to let you know that. So here are some of what Christians are. There are those who are just saved to get that golden ticket to heaven. Remember Willy Wonka and the gold ticket? There are people who say, I'm going to ask Jesus in my heart just for that gold ticket, and I'm not going to go any farther than that. And they don't. There are other Christians who will sacrifice, maybe if nothing better happens on that day, they will sacrifice 1 or 2 hours a week. That's all they're going to sacrifice. They come in and they bring their spiritual time clock and they go ching ching. And they're like, okay, that's all the sacrifice I can do for Jesus in their lives. I need to say in our churches, even though we have gone away from the fundamentalists, there are some fundamentalists who think the way they dress, the way they act, they're going to act weird. Dale keeps telling, I didn't grow up in the fundamentalist time, but he said, and when he was growing up, acting weird meant you were holy. And your length of your hair, the length of the skirts, that doesn't make you holy. That's not a sacrifice. The sacrifice you need is an inward sacrifice to change you. Dietrich Bonhoeffer calls these Christians, the faith is called cheap grace, because they're not willing to suffer or go beyond and let go of the old man. And hopefully there are more who live every day, every hour and seconds, sacrificing, living as sacrifice, holy offering unto God. We have great saints. I'm going to say I love the saints in this church. I love them dearly. And I know they struggle, but it's not a big scene. They don't bring the suffering and the sacrifice as a big scene like some people do. They do it quietly. They come to prayer meeting. I'm going to tell you, prayer meeting is probably the safest discipleship place we have in this church, where we can be open and honest in what we're going through as Christians. They come to us personally and they say, you know, I'm going through this suffering. I'm trying to really sacrifice. I'm trying to live for God. It's not a big deal. They're not up front flashing their problems in front of the world and what they're struggling with. But the difference is those who are the holy and the saints who are living sacrificial lives, their lives point to God. They don't have to tell anyone that they're holy. People will know it. People will know that you are living a holiness life. So I have my question today. My question for you are, which of these Christians are you this morning? Also, what do you need to do in your lives to become that living sacrifice that Jesus wants us to be?